Welcome everyone. My name is Lisa Espinosa and my work is as a spiritual career coach. So what that means, in case you haven't heard that before, is I help clients to evolve their career, to share more of their soul's gifts, and even to change careers if they're feeling that what they're doing in their life isn't the work that they're meant to do, by following their soul's guidance and by really starting from within. So it's not so much like resume building and networking, like stuff like that. It's more like teaching my clients to listen to their inner wisdom, to know what are the next steps they're supposed to take. So all the classes that I teach at their core have that as an intention. And this class, protective energy shielding at work, which sounds so kind of intense, the name, is really an important topic. And I'm really excited because it's the first time I teach it as a 2-hour training. I teach it as part of retreats and the things that I teach my clients. Also, I do Reiki, I teach Reiki. And if you don't know what Reiki is, it's a form of energy healing. And you don't need to know all the details, but in those trainings I teach a lot about shielding, but I haven't done it in this way, just kind of for a general audience. So it really forced me to get clear on what are the important things you need to learn so that you can feel that you're at work and you're shielded, but not in a way that makes you feel like you're in danger or oh, there's all this awful energy coming. So I was really hesitant, and this is really important to share, when I was talking to Nancy, who just spoke to you, creating this class, I really wanted to be sure that I wasn't adding fear to the world. That it wasn't all right, you have to protect yourself because there's all these negative, toxic people out there, and you got to just shield yourself. It's so dangerous out there. That's not what I wanted. So at the same time, I also understand as a sensitive person, and as I'm sure all of you are sensitive, that there is a need to know, well, how do I strengthen my energy body? How do I make sure that at work I share my gifts, I share my creativity, I help my students or my clients, and don't feel like I'm a sponge that's just absorbing everything. So that's why it felt like such an important class. But one thing, as Nancy said, it is being recorded, and usually my style of teaching would have kind of more interaction in the beginning, but this is going to be more kind of like a TED Talk style first. So of course, if a question just kind of bursts out of you, I will totally answer that and honor that, but we will have time at the end for questions and answers. So I recommend you write it down if there's something that you're oh my gosh, I want to remember to ask her this question. Feel free to do that. And the other thing I want to say about that, I think that's it I want to say about that. So if you look at your handouts, which again, I used to teach 7th grade. I guess that's the other thing I want to tell you, which is really important to this. So I used to teach 7th grade in Chicago Public Schools. I did that for almost 10 years. I love teachers and I love the work that they do. My husband's a teacher. And now I've been doing this work for 10 years. So back when I was a teacher, I didn't have these tools. So it was really one of the hardest things for me about teaching was in a room full of, 30 or so students and I used to teach science and reading. So I would have 4 groups of 7th graders coming in. And I really did love 7th grade. It was the grade that I loved teaching. But a lot of times by the end of the day, along with every hard thing that teachers have to do, I felt so heavy with energy. I felt so, even though I didn't know this, I would use words like, oh my gosh, I feel like I just got rained on with all this negativity or angst or stress. So I understand how that feels. It's very different for me now because I have these tools. That's not to say that I don't ever feel like I need to clear and clean. Of course, it's an ongoing thing, but the reason I'm sharing this with you is as I start teaching you and sharing some tools with you, I want you to understand that these are all practices, right? And there will come a time, if you are committed to this, where you won't have to think about it quite as much. So it won't have to be oh, do I clear? Do I shield? Do I use light? Do I use, do I connect with the earth? That it'll be much more integrated. And you probably already do some things that you're not even aware that you're doing. But it absolutely, your energy body can become stronger, because now, I mean, I'm not a teacher, so in a way my work is different, but I work often with a lot of women who are awesome and amazing, but are also going through a lot of stress and grief. I do a lot of grief work in my work. So I am with a lot of people who have pain and stress. So this is something that I'm not just talking about and don't do. It's really important. So if you look at your handouts, and I'm going to ask you what I used to tell my 7th graders, and they would never listen, to not read ahead, please. So if you go to the first page is the agenda, and the reason I want you to look at that is just to understand. So I divided this into 3 sections. So part 1 is the mindset. And what I mean is kind of like your thinking about protective energy shielding. It's really important to get clear on your beliefs and thoughts about it. Like, if you don't do that first step, it really doesn't work. And a lot of classes about this focus on just the tools and focus on like saging and crystals, and those are all awesome. I love all of that. But if you don't have the mindset part, it's really, the effect of those tools isn't as powerful. So that's the first part of it, right? The mindset. And then once we get through that, we're going to go over the practices, right? And I divided it into, how you strengthen your energy body, how you clear it, and what does that mean, how you cut cords and also empower those cords that are positive, and then also the shielding, right? How you shield, but you can't shield until you clear, right? So I kind of there's an order to how we do this, and then I will share those tools like saging and crystals, essential oils. This class is not going to be so much about those. I will just kind of touch on those, but those can be helpful as well. But again, they're not replacements for all the other things that you have to do first, right? And I remember when I was a teacher, I had started to get into crystals, and I would have like hematite in my pocket and crystals over here, and I didn't, now I look back and I'm so glad. I loved crystals, but I understand, at times my frustration, like, why isn't this working? I thought this crystal was supposed to absorb all negative energy, but because I didn't know all the other things that I had to do as well. So, and then part 3, we're going to bring it all together. And in part 3 is where you're going to receive your Reiki attunement. And I will talk a little bit about what that is. To be clear, this is not a Reiki training, right? I do lead Reiki training, so this isn't going to be like a whole training. That would take way longer. But you are going to receive a Reiki attunement. It's going to strengthen your energy body, and it's going to make it a lot easier for you to implement these tools, and then to have time for questions and answers. Okay, so that's the plan for today. All right. So everybody has a pen and paper. I know you came in. I have a clipboard. Would you like to use a clipboard? Here you go. Do you need a pen? Oh, you got it? Okay, I think there we go. All right. Okay, so the first page here, this taking inventory of your energy at work. So I'll just have like I think Nancy was asking this question, but I'm going to ask it again. How many of you here are specifically focused on clear protective energy shielding at work, like it's about your work life? Anybody? Okay, all right, yeah. And other people, it's just like in general life all around? Okay, so that's what to say. My examples are going to be work related because that's the title of the class, but absolutely you can use this for anything, right? So it's not like this won't work for life. So so if you're here and you're like, well, career's not really the thing, then just replace where I say work with whatever your thing is, life, or whatever situation it is, right? So what's really important, this first question, I'm going to give you just a little time. You might not get to all of what your response is right now, so I recommend you do it again later, or not later today necessarily, but later this week. But this first question, it's really important, even if you think, well, it's obvious, that I want you to spend time, in just like a minute or two, is this first question of why do you want to protect and shield your energy at work? If it's not work, then whatever it is. So really get clear. Is this similar to, I teach my students how to meditate, and I always ask them to think about why do they want to meditate? And they're kind of like, well, shouldn't we meditate? But it's like really thinking about like, well, why do I want to do this? So I want you to take a minute, right? Just jot it down, or if you have your journal, just kind of whatever comes to it's not a test, so, but just really getting some clarity as you check and say, why do I want to do this? Why do I think it's important? And just write down whatever words, thoughts. Try to not censor yourself and just write. And if you're not sure, you can say, well, I'm not sure, but just take a guess. You know, just kind of like take a guess. Why do you think it's important? And just kind of finishing off your last words. So just kind of finish that wherever it was, even if you didn't complete the sentence. So we're going to do the first three and then share a little bit. So the second question, what are the common times during your workday when your energy feels depleted or heavy? Now, I know all of you have different work situations. So if you work from home, think of that. If you work with private clients, think of that. Just kind of think about when during my workday. And if you're not working right now, then just think of during your day. When during your day do you feel the most, like your energy feels the most depleted or heavy? Okay, here you go. I just noticed you're sharing. All right, so just kind of finishing that. Again, it's not a test, and you can add more information later, but just let's put some stuff on paper here. And then the third question, what are common times at work or during your workday when you feel your energy feels empowered and clear? So just kind of scan your workday. Think about like, okay, when does it feel more empowered and clear? So just take just a few more seconds to kind of finalize your answers. Okay. So the reason it's important to start to notice, well, actually I have a question, like just raising your hand. Was it pretty easy to think about times when your energy felt heavy and depleted? Was that like, oh yeah, you could write something? Yeah. And what about the other, like where it felt empowered and clear? Could you identify those times as well? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the reason that's important, I mean, it's kind of obvious, right? Because when you learn these tools, you can start to, I think 99% of the time, the reason these tools don't work is because we implement them too late. Right? We're kind of like in the middle of the meeting or in the middle of our workday or in the middle of a session with a client or a student, and we're just like, oh, just kind of, but we notice it, but there's, we can't really be like, wait, let me go shield my energy, right? It's just kind of like, so it's important to start to think ahead of time, like, okay, well, what are the times when this starts to happen where I'm a little more vulnerable, so that you can, just like in the morning you brush your teeth and you might take a shower and whatever things you do, that you have these plans in place, right? And then for the first question, why do you want to protect and shield your energy at work? I would just love to hear if one or two people could just share a little. You don't have to say everything, but just kind of like it will help me to hear, like, what are the reasons that some of you wrote? Like, yes?
There's just a lot of, like, toxic behavior from different people. There's a lot of negative interactions between people. And,
okay. So not necessarily you in it, but just kind of the around you. Okay, thank you. So I'm just going to repeat that just in case the camera didn't hear. But she was saying just that there's a lot of negative interactions and toxic people. Is that what you said? Yeah, kind of like toxic relationships around you. So just kind of wanting to have, be clear as you're immersed in that. All right, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else? Yes.
So that my stress level will not go up, and so that I can radiate more love and light.
Yeah, so that your stress level will not go up and you can radiate more love and light. Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Yeah, and I think, I'm guessing probably all of you can resonate with those things. And whatever your unique situation, it tends to be either people around us that are our co-workers that can deplete our energy. To be really honest, when I was a teacher, I was a lot more affected by other teachers' energy than my students. Like, it really wasn't, it was, they were 7th graders and there were 30 of them and they had a lot of hormones and all of that stuff. So I could be tired. But as far as feeling like, it was the adults in the building. That was harder for me. So that was really, when I was kind of planning this class, I was thinking like, yeah, that was really true. That's what it was. So whatever your situation, we'll talk about that. But you, Karen, said something really interesting. And actually, I'll get to that because that's really important. But I want to share, so before we get into that, some of the common qualities and actions that we can take at work or anywhere that kind of make you magnetic to picking up energy. Like, it really does. It's almost like we have like a neon sign saying, come to me, energy. So it's important to also become aware of that, because no matter how many amazing energy tools you have, if there's some behaviors or things that we're doing that are just kind of making us kind of like magnets to this, it's going to be impossible to really just kind of have a clear energy. And I say on here, this is nothing to be ashamed of. This is not at all about judging ourselves. We've all done this. One of these or all of these at some point in our lives, right? So first thing, poor boundaries, right? So if you are someone that tends to have poor boundaries in your relationships, just with people, like it's hard for you to say no, or it's hard for you to, kind of express your needs. And I don't mean like you have to be like in people's faces or anything, but just like, then that usually, if not always, translates to poor energetic boundaries, right? So again, if you notice that, then along with these tools, part of it will be like, okay, well, I want to get support around strengthening my boundaries, right? That. Now, the other thing is if you have a tendency to rescue, right? If we have like that rescue place inside of us that just feels like it's my job to like heal people and improve everything and take care of everyone. It's like we have that rescue mentality. And it's so easy for that to get confusing because it's good to be helpful, right? We want to be helping and uplifting the world. So this isn't about becoming selfish, but there's a difference between I want to be helpful, I want to share my love and light, with like I have to rescue people, right? So that's because really when you have that thought, even if you're not conscious of it, you're putting that energy out there. You're saying, I am here to rescue you. Give me your burdens, right? Energetic and not energetic. So needing to be needed, that's very similar as well, right? So all of those. And then the martyr complex. I must sacrifice my well-being to help others, right? So that can be very subtle, But if there's any, I remember as I was promoting this class, I was posting on Instagram and a thing, and I think I said something like, absorbing your client's pain isn't helpful to you or them. Like it's not. And there was a part of me that still felt a little, I could recognize that there was still a little part of me that felt guilty about that. Like, wait, I should take their pain. Like that's what a healer does. That's what a person who cares about others does. And so it was really interesting for me to recognize, wow, some part of me still has that belief. And so energetically, again, we're not saying you're not being helpful. Of course we can help, but that's different than I will take your burdens for you. Which, even when we do that, we get burdened, but then that person doesn't heal anyway. I think that's what I was saying. They don't end up healing the thing they need to heal. So it's ultimately not helpful to you or that person. But if you notice that could be, that's something that makes us magnetic. Gossiping or complaining in a way that isn't useful. And please do not misunderstand me. This is so not about you must just always be positive and pretend all is well. I used to, I guess I'm going to tell a lot of stories about teaching, but when I was teaching, I remember my principal coming in once in the meeting with a shirt that said no whining. And I was so upset. All the teachers were like, oh my, because it was kind of like if you're a good teacher, you will not complain about anything here. So that's not what I'm talking about. Please go and be whistleblowers or whatever you need to be at your job. Speak your truth. That is not what I mean. But gossiping and complaining in a way, you know the difference, right? Because afterwards, you might have a little, it might feel good in the moment, but afterwards it's just like, we just we brought our vibration down, our energy frequency down. And when we do that, we're like magnets again for this kind of negativity. So that's really important to look at. And judgment of self or others, same thing, right? And most of my clients don't fall so much in the judging of others, although we all do that at some point, of course. But it's more self-judgment, more like, why am I so sensitive? Or, why did I say that? Or, why didn't I say that? Or, all of that self-judgment also affects our energy, and it makes us very vulnerable to all these cords and energies that are out there in our work environment. So that's really important. Now, so again, don't get overwhelmed if you're like, oh my gosh, I do all those. That's okay. It's just like being aware of them, It's just being aware of them and like, okay, little by little, I can just kind of be more mindful about it, right? And the thing is, when you're feeling like you're absorbing a lot of negativity at work, it's really easy to go into those, right? It's really easy to go into gossiping or complaining because we're upset and frustrated. It's really easy to go into either judging ourselves or others. So it's understandable. It's just to give you an awareness, like ultimately it's not helpful. So like, how can I start to shift that? But it's not about beating yourself up or feeling like from now on I shall never do this. It's just like becoming aware. The good news is that there's also qualities that strengthen your energy body. That really, they're like vitamins for your energy body. Compassion for yourself and others, that is huge. Now, if you're in a job situation where you're like, I just have a really hard time being compassionate to my coworkers right now, because that's okay, start with yourself. Like if you start by being compassionate with yourself, which sometimes is even harder, that's going to start to raise your vibration, right? So compassion, love, curiosity. So that energy of curiosity, of having an open mind, of being curious about, that's interesting that every time I talk to that person, I feel terrible afterwards. Even though she's super friendly and she smiles and she brings me cupcakes or whatever, so you might be like, that's really interesting. Like why, after I interact with this person, even though she's being so friendly and helpful, I feel like so heavy, right? So just being curious, first of all, accesses your inner wisdom, but also it raises your vibration. Instead of going into analyzing, like what's wrong? Why do I feel like this? It's a very different energy. Curiosity is like open, and there's a spaciousness to that, right? So being curious. Confidence, so, and for you to know, part of knowing energy shielding tools is going to increase your confidence, because confidence, all it means is that you trust that you can take care of yourself. You trust that you'll be able to handle the situation, right? Even if in the moment something challenging happens, you know that you're resourceful and that you're going to be able to get back on your path. It doesn't mean you always have the answers and you never feel bad. That's not what confidence is, right? Using positive words, again, not fakey positive, not like smile all the time. No, just like using positive words in your mind and you communicate. If you're someone who's very friendly and nice and polite, you might think, well, I already use really positive words. But if in your mind your words are not that positive, that's very powerful too. One of the books I study is Course in Miracles. It's an aside from this, but one of the teachings in there that they talk about is to really, the evolution of humanity is at some point being able to have telepathic communication, right? And so you're instructed in, like, imagine that everyone could read your thoughts that you have about them. Like everyone, like people you just see on the street, and it was so like, oh my, and I thought I was like a really nice, kind person, but when I thought that, I was like, oh my gosh, that would feel so bad. Like I just was aware. So again, not to judge myself, but it just made me, and has continued to make me so much more mindful even about that. And again, this is a practice, but just for you to be aware of that. So with this, you use this as a tool for yourself. My invitation is that it makes you curious as you go to work the rest of the week and next week, and just kind of start to notice. You'll get more clarity now that you have these questions here, and you'll get more clarity about like, ooh, what qualities can I bring up more here at work? And it's okay if you're like, all my coworkers are this up list here, right? They're all doing this. That's okay. Just like you just kind of like focus on you. The really amazing thing is they don't need to be trained in this for you to be able to help yourself. So that's the good thing, right? So I got a little bit ahead of myself, but in part one of the first things I wanted to say was that, and remind you, if you already know this, is that your sensitivity is a gift. Like your energy body, being able to be sensitive to people's emotions, being able to discern and to notice when an environment needs more love or when there's some sort of energy that's depleting, and being able to know that that's a gift that we're meant to develop and strengthen. But because we're not taught these things, it feels like it can feel like it's a curse or it's a punishment or you're weak or there's something wrong with you. And also when we don't know these things, we can use other buffers to try to shield ourselves, right? We try to indulging. So for example, whether it's TV or sugar or, and I'm not saying don't ever watch TV and don't eat sugar, but like when we don't know about our energy body, we're still aware in some level like that we're feeling very heavy, and we try to find other ways to clear that. And a lot of times we do it by buffering and overindulging in things because we get a kind of like a quick relief, even though it's not long lasting. So it's really important to remember, one, your sensitivity is a gift, and you want to become more sensitive. I know that sounds crazy. There was a time very recently in my life where I would have thought, no, I don't want to be. But the evolution of our planet is going to really be healed by sensitive people. Sensitivity doesn't mean weakness. You be sensitive and very strong and courageous. So this is not about getting rid of your sensitivity. It's about remembering that it's a gift and learning how to strengthen it, learning that it evolves and how to nurture it, and then, shielding yourself when you need to shield yourself. It's like you're superheroes and you want to know how to do that, right? So that's one thing that's important. I have on here, words are important. So what I mean is, that in some way words are limiting, because when we talk about energy, it's like something you can't touch, right? But we're trying to place words on them. So I tried to stay away from saying like negative energy and positive energy. Although sometimes that's just what you have to say because it's just like that's what makes sense. But it can be a little more empowering if you think of it as depleting energy versus empowering energy. There's just something a little less, that carries less weight and judgment even. So to be able to say, well, that, when I'm around that group of people, my energy gets depleted. When I'm around that group of people, my energy feels empowered. When I'm in those meetings, I feel like I just got rained on, like a storm just hit me. Or when I'm in that part of my job, my energy feels, just built up. So starting to think about it in that way is really helpful because we can get really, words have a vibration. So if we are like, just kind of get stuck in that polarity of good and bad energy, negative and positive energy, it ultimately doesn't help. Even though I totally understand that there's just some situations where that's just what's going to feel right. But starting to think of it as depleting versus empowering will be really helpful for you. And did you have a question? Oh, okay, I thought you were going to be like, and then this other thing here is very, very important. I have here being emotionally triggered versus absorbing depleting energy. So this is so important. So for example, this class is not about what to do when you're triggered emotionally at work. How do you tend to yourself? How do you care for yourself? I'm reading this in the agenda. I'm there where it says mindset. I will be teaching a class about that in January, by the way, if you want to go to that. But today is all about when you absorb energy, depleting energy. So let me give you an example of a difference. So if you go to work and your boss says something, for example, like, I've tried to come up with examples that aren't in the wellness field because almost all my clients are in the wellness field in case. How many people, are any people here in the wellness field? I know some are. Are others like corporate or schools or just kind of like, okay, accounting. So let's say you go in and your boss is like, hey, I read your report and this part wasn't good and I'm really disappointed and blah, 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 whatever, something like that. And you get triggered, you feel ashamed or maybe you feel angry if you don't think it was accurate what he or she said, right? So you feel bad afterwards. Your emotions got triggered, right? That's different. Or let's say you're a therapist or a coach and a client comes in and she starts sharing, about her divorce, let's say, and you're there present, but you're also going through a divorce, and after she leaves, or maybe your marriage isn't going well, and after she leaves, you feel really upset, but it's not because you picked up her energy, it's because your emotions got triggered. It makes total sense, right? Because she's going through this, it triggered your own wounds about it, and now you're feeling down or upset or whatever it is. That is normal, and again, that's not what this class is about. What this is about is, let's say you go to work and you're feeling fine, and you go to a meeting, and as soon as you walk in, you're like, whoa, you just kind of start to feel bad, or maybe you sit down, and as it goes on, you start to feel worse, maybe you start to get a headache, maybe your shoulders start to get tight, maybe you just start to feel anxious. There isn't an emotional trigger. It isn't that somebody insulted you or something. It's just like you're picking up the vibes of the place, right? Or like I said, I used to, when I was teaching before my students would come in, I would always get to class very, very early so I could be in my room and, just kind of prepare for my students. And I remember there was a point where some teachers would come in to talk to me and just kind of chat. And at first I thought it was like fun, but this one particular teacher, and she was very nice, but she would come in, sit in front of me, and literally, like, she would just, I don't know what it was, but it was like her energy. She would stop talking and be like, oh, I feel great, I'm so awesome, thank you. And she would walk out feeling so bouncy, and I would be like, oh my gosh. And it wasn't that anything she said triggered my emotions, because I wasn't going, but it was like she unconsciously was just kind of putting all this energy on me, and and I was like, so that's what I'm talking about here, right? So it's like, so I want you to be clear when you're at work that you don't get confused with like, oh, that person just triggered me, you know, an emotion got triggered, let me tend to that, as opposed to, oh, I'm picking up energy, you know, from, and we don't just pick up energy from people. Technology emanates a lot of energy as well that can be really heavy for our sensitive system. So I'll talk about that a little bit. So I want to just kind of, for you to be clear on that, those differences. So we're going to go into part 2. I know we're having questions at the end, but is there anyone that has just like something that feels like you want to say it now? We're good? Yes?
I just was going to say thank you for the difference between being emotionally triggered and you know, absorbing depleting energy.
Yes.
And I think, and I just heard this right now, sometimes it's both.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, like I got triggered and then it's like maybe I'm in that part or whatever, and then I'm absorbing also the energies that are in the room too, or kind of like, or how they play off each other. So
yes.
I kind of heard that too.
I'm so glad you said that, because when we're emotionally triggered, we're so vulnerable to everything. So that's why compassion is so helpful, because if you're emotionally triggered and instead of judging it or like, why am I feeling that or what's wrong with me, we're just like, kind of can be compassionate, it builds our energy body so we don't become like a big, you know, just like sponge just taking in everything. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Okay, so let's go to the practical tools. Yeah, the protective energy shielding practices and tools. Got a little message up there for you. I won't read it, but the main thing for this, you know, the second paragraph, when I say protecting and shielding your energy is an act of love for yourself and the world. Again, remembering this isn't about separation or judgment. Did you not get that page?
I didn't get that page.
Oh, okay. Here you go. It should be in here. Yep. Right? It's about unity and wholeness. So, right? It's not about labeling those toxic negative people. It's just like, oh, okay, I'm going to really tend to my energy body so that I can affect the environment, not by rescuing it, but my light comes in and uplifts. Or if they want to stay stuck in that vibration, that's okay, but I'm going to stay up here, right? So that place. And I say on here, you know, this class is meant to be concise and practical and give you tools so that when you leave here, you can use them right away. There's so much more to teach about it. So I'm in no way saying, this is it, like there's so more to learn, but this is definitely something that you'll be able to use. And I also say on here, don't feel like you've got to implement all of these at once. Now, some of you are already doing some of this, so then you can see like, oh, I already do that. But I can tweak this, or I can add this layer to it. If you're not doing any of these, that's okay. Just kind of look at it and be like, okay, well, what are, you know, 1 or 2 things that I'm going to implement? Like, even if it's just one, if you're like, this one thing really resonated, really spoke to me, I'm going to try this for like a month. Like, that's going to be my focus. Because if you try everything, most likely you're just going to give up at some point. It's just a lot, right? So it's just kind of like, yeah, it's going to deplete your energy. It's going to be counterproductive. So yeah, just kind of like take it one layer at a time. So first thing that's so important is, so just like you have your physical body, right? You have your energy body, and just like exercising your physical body, like doing weight training or running, cardio, whatever you do for working out, strengthening your energy body is so important. And so this is something, and you can put next to this ongoing. So like this is something you do ongoingly. You strengthen your energy body. Just like it's good to exercise regularly, right? Like that keeps your body healthy and strong. Strengthening your energy body is important. And the first thing that's I actually have a question. How many of you here, and it's not at all a judgment, just curious, how many of you here have a daily meditation practice? Anybody? All right, awesome. How many people would like to have a daily meditation practice? Or even like a couple times a week practice? Okay, awesome, great. So for those of you who have a daily meditation practice, awesome. my suggestion is try to add what I'm going to describe right now to that. So not like, oh, no, I got to do another thing. Just like, oh, okay, just make this part of it. For those of you who don't, this could be like a beginning of a meditation practice that you do, because it could literally take a minute, right? So it's just, don't let the word meditation freak you out if that's something, like if that kind of feels like, oh, I'm going to mess up, or I don't know how to do that, or I never stick to it. Just let go of that thought. So when I say having a daily practice of connecting with your soul, higher self, so what I mean, without getting too into a whole long conversation about your soul, what I mean by soul is that part of you that's like your true essence, right? That's your higher self, that is whole, complete, that has not been diminished in any way by anything painful that has happened in your life. Right? It's just, and it's connected to source, whatever you call that, the universe, God, energy, goddess, whatever word you use, the divine. So your soul is, your physical body is the container for your soul, right? But your soul is much vaster than that. So when you're connecting, the reason it's so important to have a daily practice where you're, and I'm going to show you how to do this right now, where you're envisioning this energy that is your soul, that is whole, complete, resilient, resourceful, doesn't get depleted by other people's energy, right? Your soul's like, yeah, strengthen your energy body so I can go out there and share more of my medicine through you. Like your soul wants you to do this, right? You do that because as you connect with your soul, you start to become more aware of your energy body. You start to you first use visualization, and it's okay to use your imagination. That's why we have an imagination. But the more you do this, the more you start to become aware of like, oh yeah, I can kind of sense my aura, or oh, my aura feels kind of depleted, or oh, the energy around me feels like it's all over the place. Like you want to start to learn the language of how to describe your energy body. And every student and client I've had has been able to do this. Even if at first they're like, I can't, I don't, I'm so not intuitive, they totally can, because your soul wants you to do it, because your soul is so happy that you want to do this and knows how helpful it'll be. So let's just do a little quick kind of meditation here. So yeah, if you can have your feet on the floor, awesome. And just kind of, I'm going to actually invite you to look at the back. I put this little image here in the back. This is from my Reiki manual. I took out the words. And you don't have to know what the chakras are or anything like that right now. But even though you're not sitting like this, right? Like just, or you might be, I don't know, some of you might go in that pose. I want you to, when you're ready and you close your eyes, just kind of be aware that you have these energy centers, right, running here through your center like this. And then to be aware of your aura as your aura is just an electromagnetic field around your body. So just be aware of it as a field around your body. So you can look at this image, and then when you're ready, you just close your eyes. And as you close your eyes, just take some nice cleansing breaths. And first really become aware of your physical body, right? Feel your feet and your hips and your pelvis, your back, your neck, the crown of your head. Your shoulders, notice if your shoulders feel tight and just kind of relax them. Just imagine that someone gently places their hands on your shoulders and they relax. So you're really aware of your physical body. And I want to invite you to visualize that hovering over the crown of your head is a beautiful golden light. It's like this bubble of golden light. It's just floating right above your head. And it's okay to just use your imagination. And then just imagine that that bubble of golden light is actually your soul's light. So imagine that light descending down the crown of your head. And as it does that, the crown of your head starts to relax, your forehead relaxes, starts to go down your torso, your shoulders, down to your hips, your feet. So you're filled with your soul's golden light. And then coming back to your heart center, so right at the center of your chest, and I'm going to invite you to bring the palms of your hands over your heart center. So if you don't know what I mean, you can see me. Shoulders relaxed. And just breathing into your beautiful heart space. This is where your soul resides. I mean, it's everywhere, but it loves to be here at your heart. Right? To be there sitting on this throne of your heart. And as you're sitting there with your hands there, now I want you to ask your soul to start to show you your energy body. So now visualizing your soul's light radiating out of your physical body into your aura. So you see this cocoon of light around you. And ask your soul to show you. Just ask your soul, like, show me my aura. What does it look like? Is it very bright? Is it very heavy? Is it very close to your body? Or is it very spread out, maybe? Does it feel like it has leaks? Or does it feel very sealed? Maybe it feels like a wall, like an armor around you. Just kind of ask your soul. And it's okay if your mind's like, oh, I don't know what the answer is. That's okay. Just let that go. Just be curious. Just be curious on how does that energy around you feel? And just kind of asking one last question, just asking your soul, is there anything else you want me to see about my energy? Is there anything else you want me to know? And just taking some deep breaths, thank your soul. And just bringing your arms down. And just take some cleansing breath stretch. Gently maybe looking down at the floor before you open your eyes. And what I want you to do before we check in is on this drawing here with your pen, I want you to just kind of do a quick like sketch of what you feel your aura looks like right now. It's okay if it's literally just like, you know, oh, it looks just like a cocoon. Or if it feels like, you know, if you have a sense like it feels jagged. Or maybe you put a little hole somewhere where you're like, I feel like it has leaks. It's not a test. You can't do this wrong. This is just starting to get you connected with. So you've got the image and just use your pen to draw your aura and like your sense of like how close is it to your physical body? Is it very spread out? I know you don't have markers. I was really disappointed I didn't add that on the description, but if there's right color, if you thought it looked green, write green, or just anything. If it feels cluttered, just write feels very cluttered. Just kind of whatever comes. So just kind of finish it off. I'm sure you could add more, but for now, just that. So I really recommend, and I want to check in with you, but actually I'm curious, how many people when we did that had an awareness or some sense of like, oh yeah, my aura, this is how it feels, any sort of like sense of it? It's just, yeah. Yeah. And a lot of times when we use the word aura, it can feel so like magical because we hear about people often, and people would come up to me like, can you read my aura? Can you see my color of my aura? You know, there's just so almost this kind of like, like magical thing when we all have one and we all are meant to be connected to it. So if the word aura gets you a little like, oh, I don't know if I can do that, just think, okay, the electromagnetic field around my body, how does it feel? And you might just be like, it just feels really heavy, you know, or it just, for me, when I'm depleted, my aura feels very scattered, like it's just like all over. It's not like a nice field around my body. It's like, you know, like all over. So I'm curious if somebody could just kind of share what are anything that surprised you when you did this, anything that you were like, oh, I noticed this. If you would like to share, yes.
Mine, what could seem like, I don't know how to describe it, different bands of light, but then like a dense, almost protective, and then more bands of light.
Yeah. So you were aware.
Yes.
So you were aware of layers.
Layers. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, interesting. Good. And so when I asked her, you know, she's sharing that she was aware of like a band of light, but then almost like another layer on top of some other energy. So what will be really interesting for you and everybody else here is to check in tomorrow and like, well, how does that feel? Is that something that evolves and shifts every day, or is that what you said? It's like a protection that I have there, you know? So thank you. Yes.
I work with my aura all the time, with clients' auras, because that's actually part of my medicine and part of my work. And so when you were having us draw it, I was like, okay, yeah, I know what that looks like. I know what it feels like, and it was in layers, multiple circles. But what was so fascinating to me, and I hadn't connected with before, is it feels like there's a tear in it. And it's right at where I have this shoulder pain, and I was like, and when I drew it, just so intuitively, I was like, oh, that's what's going on, and why this has been this kind of consistent and ongoing thing that I haven't been able to really address. Yeah. So I think it was really fun to do that exercise.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And there's something about drawing it that's really helpful. Even if you think, like, even if you have a very clear idea of your aura and you're like, oh, I got this. But then in doing it, like you said, oh, you recognize there was a tear. And if you're on the other spectrum, if you're like, I've never heard of an aura before, I totally do not read auras, what is this? Still taking a moment to do this and just kind of check in. This is part of taking inventory, like, how does my energy feel? Because then you can start to adjust it and shift it, right? And you can print, I mean, there's another place here where it's there, so you can make copies of this, but you could also just go on Google and just print out any sort of because what I'm gonna have you do is then come up with a snapshot of how you want your energy field to be. Even if it's awesome, if you're like, I love mine, it's totally awesome, but it's like, is there any sort of added thing that will help it be even stronger and more radiant? So we'll get to that. So any questions before we go with this? Okay. So this is part of strengthening your energy body. So if you tune in and do a simple, I know this was kind of longer than a minute because I was guiding it, but just for you to get into the practice of like tuning in and like, okay, how does my energy feel? That's really helpful and important. And I have here, feed your energy body nutritious food, you know, meaning, well, actual food is helpful for your energy body, but just music, mantra, energy attunements like the Reiki attunement you're going to receive today. Anything you could do to really support and strengthen your energy body is obviously just makes it more resilient, right? So that you don't need to do as many of the tools or be worried so much about doing them if you're already strengthening your energy body. And really the basics of the energy anatomy is, I'm really talking basics. You don't need to be an expert in all the chakras and all of that, unless if you want to and that's interesting to you. So the chakras are the, you know, main energy centers in our body. Most people connect with the 7 main ones, but there's a lot more than that. In a Reiki training, you usually would learn a lot about those. So absolutely, if you're like, that sounds super interesting, I want to learn more, go for it. But you don't need to become an expert in that to be familiar with your energy body. So don't let that stop you. Don't be like, okay, I gotta go read a book about chakras before I do this. No, you just need to know you have energy centers. You have an aura, you have an energy body, I can strengthen it, and I'm learning tools on how to clear and shield and all of that, okay? So I wanted to be clear with that. Okay, so let's get to some of these. So I want you to look at these three things. So I have clearing, depleting energy. So there's that one. Then I have consciously connecting with your energy strands. I could not think of one word. I wanted to make that so much shorter, but I couldn't think of a word that would really say what I was trying to say. And then shielding your energy. So notice that there's no purpose in shielding your energy if you haven't cleared it first, right? Because if you've got all sorts of stuff on you and you shield that in, that's not going to be helpful, right? You want to clear it first. You want to make sure you release anything you don't want in your energy body before you shield it. That makes total sense, right? So that's really important. Now, clearing, remember what I said, to try to avoid the kind of labels of positive and negative, you're just clearing depleting energy. That's it. You're clearing any energy that is depleting you, that does not serve you. A lot of that will be from other people, but it also could be from like technology. It also could be not from a specific person. It could also be, you know, for example, if in your work situation something just kind of stressful happened, and it's just kind of in the environment that there's this stress. It's not like a particular person, you picked up this person's stress. It's just like in the air. It's almost like the atmosphere of the work environment. So you're going to learn how to clear that. And what did I want to say about that before I guess it's important too. So a couple of things. So there's the clearing. I want you to know these two things, the consciously connecting with your energy strands. The reason I said that is these two things, clearing and cutting cords, get really confused all the time. So I want to, and I sometimes don't, because so many of these things I do automatically now. It was really cool to kind of come up with this class and think like, oh gosh, yeah, these are like two separate things. So one thing for you to know, along with your aura, we all have energy strands, right? We have like strands of energy connecting us to everything. Like if we could see, and some of you can, you know, kind of clairvoyantly, you know, there's cords of light connecting me to everyone here, connecting me to my loved ones, connecting me to objects, the crystals. That's just normal. That's what happens, you know, these energy strands. Many of them are really positive and good. Like if you think about people you love and that you just feel so great when you're with them. Those are awesome energy strands, right? Or even if there's an author you love or a teacher you love, you know, you have an energy strand connected to that person, even if you don't know them in person. And that's a really empowering strand. Now, along with those, then we can have depleting strands, which people call cords. It becomes a depleting cord. So you have a cord to a person, a memory, a situation, a location that is depleting you. And so that's different. So that's like cutting those cords are important. But it's even though that's still like clearing your energy, it's a little bit different. It felt important to put that as separate than just clearing. So there's the cord. I want you to really be clear on cords and then the clearing of your energy. So I'll talk about the cords a little more, the strands, but let's start with the clearing. So clearing, depleting energy. I recommend you do this if you don't do it at all, or like AM and PM, right? Morning and at night. Just super like brushing your teeth, totally like brushing your teeth, right? So like morning and night. And simple ways is just like what we did, kind of like visualizing this bubble of light. So it just comes down your body, just filling you, releasing it into the earth, the energy. So this is, I put this in the agenda and I forgot to say it, but one thing that's important, and the quote at the bottom, and I felt so nerdy writing this, but let's go. I have here, energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only be transferred or transformed from one state to another. That's the first law of thermodynamics. I know this because I'm a science fiction geek mostly, but also my sons are like studying engineering, so they always talk about this. But what that means is so cool, because when we talk about releasing energy, you actually can't release it. You're actually either transferring it to something else, or you can transform it. So when in the beginning, it's absolutely fine to like, I'm visualizing this bubble of light, and anything I'm holding that doesn't serve me, I'm sending it to the earth, knowing that the earth will recycle and compost it. We're not polluting the earth. We're not like, it's just when you do it with intention, the earth's energy has the capacity to transform that. Or some people do, I'm sending light down my body to clear any negative energy that doesn't serve me, and then I'm sending it to the light. Or if you connect with a particular spiritual teacher being, some people do that, like, or angels or whatever it is, you could do that, right? That clearing. Now, I'm curious, do any of you do this already? Like, you clear your energy this way? Sort of? No? I mean, I know you do, but like, yeah. Okay, so we want you to do this, right? Because look, it doesn't take a long time. And you don't have to know, I'm clearing the energy that so-and-so put in my shoulder. Like, you don't need to know all that. It's just like clearing into, okay, whatever doesn't serve me, it's flowing into the earth. The earth is a nice kind of like that, helpful. Now, I want to tell you this because if you commit to this practice, you're going to get to this point. As you keep strengthening your energy body, you'll be able to transform negative energy. You will, because your vibration is so high that sometimes you won't have to send it to the earth, right? It says energy cannot be, you can't get rid of it, created or destroyed, but you can either transfer it over and then that place is going to convert it, or you can transform it. So there will be a time when, as you keep doing this work, sometimes as you're doing that, you're just realizing, oh my gosh, my heart can transform this negative energy. And some of you may already be doing that. Some of you, and that's why this work is so important, because it's not only about you feeling good and having a great time at your job and helping others there, but it's because we are being trained to, there's a lot of pain in the world, right? And I'm not talking about becoming rescuers, but just that as you're shopping, as you're going through your day, that you don't have to think about it, but that your beautiful energy is helping to clear the energy of your surroundings. Not in a way that depletes you, or you're like, oh, no, I got to clear the environment. No, it's just like you're doing it because your energy is so high that that's happening. Okay, so I really want you to just kind of planting that seed, because that's going to happen. One of my favorite ways to clear depleting energy is shaking. It's like literally. And so I see private clients, and sometimes, after seeing several, and, after I'm done with a whole day's work, and it's mostly not like depleting energy from my clients, it's mostly the energy they've released. And now I've, even though I have all my tools, I'm feeling like I got some stuff on me. So for me, shaking, it's like, and I don't know if I can do it with Mike, but it's like literally you shake your arm, you shake your other arm, you shake your legs, you shake your body, like do 2 minutes of just total shaking, 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 shaking. It is so powerful and quick and fast. And I used to teach a weekly meditation class, and one of the first things we would do before meditating is I would guide them to like shake their arms, shake their legs. And if you can put some music that you like, you can do that as well. You can stomp your feet, but it is really powerful. And it's one of those things that seems so simple, like, can it be that simple? But why would your soul make it complicated? Like, it's really meant to be simple, that you can clear your energy. It shouldn't require like a degree, right? It's like, oh yeah, I can shake, like I can do this. So along with the shaking, when you're shaking, you're also like, just kind of like literally like you're shaking and like you're getting stuff off, right? It's like I kind of forgot how much I did it, and as I was going over this plan with my husband, I was like, you're my pretend student. I'm like reading this to you. And he was like, well, after I come from work and you've seen a lot of clients, you're like shaking downstairs, like this is what you do. And I was like, you're right, this is what I do. Because I'm just like, okay, I just gotta like shake a bunch of stuff out, and I don't have to, this is the thing, I don't have to analyze it. I don't have to be like, what was it? Do I need to know some deep story about it? Mm-hmm. If you do, your soul will let you know. If there's something you need to know, but it's just like you're clearing it, shaking it off. my environment has a lot of high vibrating things. You have a lot of crystals and plants. The colors in my walls are very intentional. So I kind of have and I see my clients at home. So I've created a lot of things in my environment already that are clearing the energy, which you can do as well when we get to the tools part as well, or in your job. You can bring things for sure. But you can, even if you have to go to the bathroom and like close the door and just kind of do that for a couple, for like a minute or 30 seconds is very powerful. So and the good thing about that is also grounds you, because a lot of times when you've picked up energy from others, you can get very kind of floaty, you're just kind of like up here because you're carrying so much energy that isn't yours. This other one, dark and light cocoon of rejuvenation. I know this sounds very Star Trek-y, I think, but so this is more like something you would do at night. Maybe you could do it every day, but even like if you did it once a week, maybe like on Friday. And what's really interesting, so you visualize yourself. I have a Reiki table, so like a massage table. So you can visualize, or if you have one, you can get on it and do that. But you can visualize like you're on a massage table, but it's like a pod, right? It's like a cocoon of light. So you can lie in bed and do this. And your intention is that as you're in there, this cocoon of light is like clearing. It's just kind of like clearing your energy. What's really fascinating for me is that most of the time when we do this work, we think about light, right? A light. But the dark is very, very rejuvenating for your nervous system. So I don't mean about like dark negative energy. No, it's like the womb, like the earth. So sometimes, especially if you're super sensitive and your nerve endings are like frazzled, you might need to really picture yourself in a dark womb. Like that's gonna actually bring your system down. Whereas a light cocoon might be, I kind of overdid it on the light in the beginning because it's just like in the New Age movement, there's a lot of talk about the light. I mean, I love the New Age movement. I mean, there wasn't as much talk about the powerful healing properties of darkness. So I had to kind of do a lot of connecting with different spiritualities, but realizing and different teachers that, sometimes, especially for me, it's not even once a week. I think if like after this class, for example, I have a long drive home, so that'll kind of help ground me some. And then I'm sure I won't be able to go to sleep right away, so I'll have to do some sort of but I don't want to visualize all this light around me and connect with my amethyst crystal and put all this crystal music. I'll never fall asleep. I'll just be floating all night. I need to picture myself, and not while I'm driving when I get home, in this dark womb, not claustrophobic because I'm claustrophobic, but this just picturing this beautiful darkness. Just think of a beautiful night day. Maybe there's a couple of stars and your nerve endings are relaxing, your nervous system is rejuvenating. So that's really important for you to have as a resource. Know when you want to be in your light cocoon. Maybe you feel lethargic and depleted and I need more energy, so you're going to go in your light bubble cocoon. But maybe you had a really busy day or just been on the whole time and you're I need to really nourish myself in this kind of dark space. Yeah.
This is really validating for me. Well, first of all, I love the dark cocoon, so I'm super excited about this. And it's I have PTSD right now.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
So I need that, and I always put on, even when it's still kind of dark in the morning, because I wake up and meditate and it's still dark. Well, now it's getting lighter, right? I put on an eye pillow.
Yes.
And now I'm realizing it was because the angels are wanting me to go into that dark.
You need to,
for the calming of the nerves and the nervous system.
Absolutely.
So, it's very validating.
Yeah.
I love
that. And thank you for saying about the PTSD. So if you're recuperating from PTSD or just from a loss or anything that your nerve endings have been, it's go into the dark cocoon. That's going to be really, really helpful for you. Okay, so then consciously connecting with your energy strands. A very long description of the reason I wrote consciously is because you have them. It's not it's like gravity, you don't have to think about it, it's there, right? It's not like you can choose, I will not connect with gravity, it's there. But I'm saying consciously connect. Oh, I have energy strands. Oh, I have positive energy strands. So when you visualize those like strands of light, you can add to your visualization with the aura, like, oh, what are my really strong strands of light, right? And just kind of like see those. Then, when you notice, has anybody here ever had that feeling? Like, I feel, even if you didn't know about energy strands, like, gosh, you might have not used this terminology, but like I have a cord with this person. I just have like not a positive one. Like, it just feels like there's some connection between us, and it's just depleting, and you didn't put it there, but so that's like a cord. And you can have one to a person that's not even in your life now. It could be like, an ex-partner from years ago, or it could be a boss from, 5 years ago. A lot of times it is people in your life now. So it's important to know that and be like, oh, I want to cut that cord, right? Like, I don't want it there. That doesn't help me or that person. And sometimes when I talk about this with clients, they're worried that they're going to cut cords of love. Like, I don't want to cut cords to my kids or my loved ones, and you can't. That is not going to happen. So don't even worry about that. Like, those are there. They're there, and you can strengthen them. So I learned this from Denise Linn, who is an author of a lot of books, and actually her latest book is called Energy Strands, I think. So if you want to know more about it, you can read that. But this one particular meditation is so powerful. So this is what you do. I'm just going to go over it with you. You, let's see how I want to do this. Yeah, well, let's just do it because that'll be the best way to do it. It's going to be, I'm going to do it short. So you could do it longer for sure. But so if you can just kind of close your eyes. Yeah, you can leave your clipboard down and take some nice breaths. Feel the earth underneath you. And I want you to visualize yourself somewhere beautiful outside. It might be different weather unless you love this temperature. But let's say you're somewhere like outside. It's beautiful. You're in nature. You don't need a coat. You're just like so relaxed, surrounded by beauty. You feel the earth underneath your feet. And you're standing there, and feel your physical body. Feel how strong your body feels. And now you're going to do this, and it might sound a little odd. You might be like, I don't know if I can do this. Just kind of play with it. I want you to imagine that your energy body is going to step out of your physical body. So you're stepping out of your physical body, your body's staying there, you're stepping out of your physical body, and you're looking at your physical body. So it's kind of almost like a ghostly you came out, and you're just looking at your body. Just look at your body. Look at your aura. It's okay to use your imagination. And then look at all the cords of light that are coming out of you. All these beautiful strands of light connecting you to your loved ones, connecting you to nature, connecting you to the divine, if that's a connection that's important to you. And some you don't even know who they're connecting you to, but you see how beautiful they are. And then notice if there's any depleting cord anywhere on your energy field. And if not, that's okay. But maybe you're like, ooh, I kind of notice one at my stomach or by my shoulder, my neck. And it'll look heavy, it'll look dark. It might look kind of like old sometimes, like wrinkly. There's you could tell right away, it looks very different than all those other strands. And if you've noticed one, you're going to go up to it and you're just going to kind of put your hands under it. Just kind of like you're putting your hands under this cord. And you're just going to gently trace your hands from your body, from this cord. You're going to try to just kind of follow it and see, what is it attached to? Is it attached to a person? Is it attached to a place? Is it attached to a memory? Just kind of notice, follow it till you get to the end to see, what is it attaching you to? And once you notice that, ask yourself if you want to keep this cord, right? If it's a depleting cord and you're like, nope, I don't want to keep this cord. Even if, let's say you find, oh my gosh, this is a cord to someone I actually love and care about. If it's a depleting cord, you can still cut it. The love cord you have with this person is fine. That's somewhere else. But if you follow it and you're like, wow, this is to someone that I care about, but this is a depleting cord, you can still decide, I'm going to cut this cord. I'm going to keep the cord of love, the strand of love, but I'm going to cut this one. So now, if you want to cut this cord, you're holding it in your hand. And you're going to visualize that in your other hand is just this beautiful sword of light. Or it could be scissors of light, whatever feels good. Because remember, this cord is depleting. You're not harming anyone else. This is like a cord that's sucking your energy and sucking the energy of this other person or location or space. It's not serving anyone. So this beautiful sword of light or scissors of light or whatever of light, it could be your hand if you want it to be your hand of light, is going to have this incredible strength to cut this cord. So you lift it with, you have your cord in one hand and you use the other hand now to cut this cord. And you might cut it and it's like super fast, or it might be like, oh, you gotta like really cut it. Again, you're not hurting anyone. This is just like this cord, this old root that's just taking up energy that does not serve you. If you connect to any sort of spiritual teachers or guides, you can ask them to help if that resonates with you. But just cut it. And just the most powerful thing you can do right now in this space is just saying, it is my intention to cut this cord that does not serve me. And that it'll be for the highest good of everyone involved. And once it's cut, just kind of let it be released into the earth or into the light. Use your breath if you need to use your breath. If in this moment you're aware that you're not ready to cut it. Let's say you notice one, but you're just not ready yet. That's okay. Just notice it. And it's good that you noticed that it's there. So thanking this light. Now look back at your body. And notice where that cord was connected. And there might be like a little scar there. It might be like a little shadow there. And fill that area with light. Almost like you're putting this cream of light in that part of your body that had this cord. And again, if this wasn't enough time for you, that's okay. Just know, okay, I know. Now I know what to do. And I will come back when I'm ready. So now strengthen all those other strands of light. And step into your body again. Really take the time to do that. Step into your body, feel your body. You're in your body now. Take some nice breaths. Feel your body, how happy it is that you're back in it. Feel the earth under your feet. And just take some nice breaths as you stretch and bring your arms down and look down at the earth. And when you're ready, opening your eyes and stretch. Do whatever you need to do. If you have water or something to drink next to you, go ahead and drink some water. That would be really good right now. You want to be hydrated as you do this. So I want to, okay, we're almost good. We're good on time, but so I want to pause here and just, I know we're having a Q&A at the end, I understand, but I just want to know if there's anything that can, I guess this is what I want to say, that can be a really powerful exercise. It really is. And don't underestimate the power of it. Like that really, wow. I think sometimes with things like this, we overcomplicate it, or we think we have to be special or have special gifts or be some type of guru to be able to do this. And it's not true. Everybody can connect with their energy body. So when you step outside of your body that way and look at it, I was so amazed when I did it the first time. Really what I was amazed at, I was like, I have so many cool, amazing chords. Like there were so many positive strands. I had always thought of like the negative chords. But when just opening the question to like, oh, all the beautiful connections I have. So that felt really powerful. And knowing that I can strengthen those, right? That I can visualize like, okay, strengthen those chords to my lineage, for example. If there's some powerful lineages of yours that you want to take into your field. But then also noticing, ooh, I noticed for me when I did it, there was like a cord right here. And it just looked like an elephant trunk. It just looked so different than everything else. It was like heavy and like a old root. And I just kind of kept following it a very long way. Because this is a very old thing. But it was very powerful to kind of hold it. And then to be like, oh, I can cut this. That I can say. And it's always like, with that intention that it's for the highest good of everyone involved. You're not hurting anyone. You're not shaming anyone. You're not getting anyone out of your life that is supposed to be in your life, right? And that's why, and Denise didn't say this part, but it was, as I've been doing this was really important, that I realized that sometimes these cords can be to people you love that are in your life now, that you're not wanting to not have them in your life, but you've got a negative cord with them. So cutting that cord doesn't mean they're not going to be in your life. It doesn't mean that, it just means you're cutting the depleting cord that isn't helping any of you. And then that's going to allow the beautiful strands you have to that person to grow and get stronger. Mm-hmm. So far, we've got strengthening your energy body, right? That's something that you do ongoingly. Clearing the depleting energy, which we talked about. And then now these strands, right? These strands, yes?
Just really quick, if there is like a cord that you see you can't fully get rid of,
yeah.
So do you come back to it on your own? Do you work with
That's a
someone
great
else?
question. I'm glad you asked that. Yes, so if you, my first suggestion to you would be to try it again, because this wasn't enough time, we're all here together, it's kind of a little contrived, right? So try it again and just kind of see if it's something that, maybe with some music or something that helps you feel very relaxed and safe, try it again. But if it still feels like, oh, this is just kind of very old, it's absolutely fine to get help with it. An energy worker, Reiki practitioner, or others can absolutely help you with that. So, yeah, because sometimes it is just deep work, it's not just right that moment, I'm just gonna cut it and there it goes, right? It might be like, ooh, this is really tied into some like wounding from a long time ago or whatever it is. I don't know what it is for you, but yeah, thank you for asking that. Yeah. Okay, so now finally shielding. See, all of this that has to happen before we shield our energy. So shielding your energy is, what do I want to say about that? It's just like, Doreen Virtue said this actually, back when I used to read her. She said this, that was really helpful, like, so that it takes the judgy part of it out. It's like if you know it's raining, you're gonna take a raincoat, right? If it's snowing, you're gonna wear your coat. Like, it's just like that. It's just like, there's gonna be energy flying around. I'm gonna shield my energy, right? Like, that's what it's like. Now, so the two things, one is, you want to make sure you release outdated shields of energy. So all of us, even if you never heard about energy bodies, we all put protection around ourselves, consciously or unconsciously. So the first thing to do is, if you recognize, oh, I've kind of put some walls up because I thought that's what protected me and kept me safe, and maybe it did in the past, but it's definitely not now, then you're going to set the intention like, okay, I'm clearing any old, outdated shields that I have. And just having that intention, like anything, any wall I put up that doesn't help me anymore, I just, intend that that gets cleared. And then it's like creating your empowered protective field. So you have your aura, you have your beautiful strands of positive light. All of that is part of your shield already. So then outside of that, now it's this grid of protection. Remember, a shield is not a wall. You're not meant to have a wall, because if you have a wall, good things won't come in either. Like depleting things won't come in, but positive things won't either. And we all know people like that are very cold and detached and have an armor, right? And they believe that's what's keeping them safe. And so so this is outside your aura, this grid. And what I have found is the most powerful grid to put around yourself is I don't have a cool name for it yet, but it's the grid of your soul's medicine. So I'm going to talk about that. So your soul, as we talked about before, right, loves you unconditionally, is so amazing and wonderful, and has a unique medicine. Think of it of like a healing. I don't mean medicine like Tylenol, but I mean medicine like your energy brings a healing to the world that nobody else can bring, right? We know this. So when you do that meditation of connecting with your soul's light, letting it come into your heart, filling your body, filling your aura, you're also, what you're going to do with this shielding is you're receiving your soul's medicine. Like, just, soul, fill me with your medicine. Right? And as it goes in your body and then goes in your energy centers, it goes in your aura, it even fills your strands, and then it's going to go outside of your aura and create this beautiful grid around you. And the reason this is so powerful is because your medicine, your soul's medicine, first of all, its first intention is to heal you. It's like made for you. It's like your most powerful, amazing energy you can receive. And the other thing is that your soul's medicine only loves, it only does good. So you don't need to worry that you're going to harm someone with it, or are you pushing people away. It's like, no, it's going to know exactly what to do. It's like you're putting this coat of your soul medicine around your aura. And, this is one of those things that I'll actually be talking about it in my class, not in January, but my class next month, because it's going to be something I write about in the book I'm working on right now. So your soul's medicine. So there's a lot to say about it, but for now, just that awareness of like, wow, my soul has a unique medicine that nobody else has, right? And I can fill my body with that soul's medicine. Then that medicine can expand outside my aura, and then it can expand outside into a grid. So it's like a grid of your soul's medicine. Like I said, I want to come up with a cool name for now. That's the name, the grid of the soul medicine, which doesn't sound cool at all, but it's very cool. So all you would do is that. So I'm going to do like a quick vision, because I want to get to the Reiki, because when I do the Reiki attunement on you, that's going to empower you to do all of this. So if you just close your eyes, you can keep your clipboards where they're at. But I'm just going to go over that meditation we did earlier and just add this component. So you close your eyes, you're grounded, you feel the beautiful light, that golden light hovering above the crown of your head, but your intention is now you're receiving your soul's medicine. You don't need to know any details, you just know nobody else has this medicine. It's medicine for me that heals me, that empowers me. So feel that light going down the crown of your head, down filling your whole body with this beautiful medicine that comes from your soul. And then it like pools at your heart, like it's this beautiful fountain, this pool of nectar of your soul's medicine. And see that light emanating out into your aura. It fills your aura. It fills those energy strands. And it even covers any cords that might still be there. You're letting your soul's medicine just start to heal them. Just let your soul's medicine touch any cords that might be there. You don't need to worry about cutting them right now. Just let your soul medicine just embrace, touch those cords. And then letting your soul medicine now expand and create a grid of light around you. And your grid is going to look different than everybody else's. And it might change every day. But right now, create this grid of light around your aura. Maybe there's geometric shapes. Maybe it's the flower of life. But you just see this beautiful golden grid that is made of your beautiful soul's medicine. Notice how big it wants to be. If it wants to be really big, like this room, or closer to you. This grid is alive. It's organic. It can change to support you in the best way. And as you do this in your heart, ask that any shields you currently have that do not serve you anymore, ask for those to be released. So just say it in your heart. Any shield I have that doesn't serve me anymore, I ask that it be released. If you're not ready to do that, if that brings up fear, that's okay. Then just ask your soul, help me. Help me to have the courage to release any of that doesn't serve me. And then leave the grid on as you come back to your aura, come back to your heart, come back to your body, but know that the grid is there. Feel the earth under your feet. And then gently open your eyes. So it's that simple. Like really, and the more you connect with it like a living being, the stronger it'll be. So what I mean is like interact with it, like when your meditation or your energy time, whatever you want to call it, just kind of check like, oh, how big does my grid wants to be today? You know, like I'm going to be at work really with a lot of people. I think it needs to be really big today. Or actually, you know, I'm going to have a lot of like one-on-one sessions. Maybe I want it to be closer to me today. You know, like it's fluid, it moves. It's not like this kind of static thing. And it evolves as you evolve, right? As your spiritual journey continues, your grid is going to get more protective and beautiful and radiant and resilient, right? So the last part here is just tools that are useful. I'm not going to go into it a lot. Sage, crystals, oils, salt baths, showers. Salt baths, I put / showers because my house is really old, so like baths just do not work. I can't take a bath, it's so sad. But even if you're in one of those cases too, getting salt is very good to clear your energy. So I know you can buy those Himalayan salt crystals and put them in a bath and kind of soak in it. I'm sure it's amazing. I've not done it yet. But you can take a shower. Like you can put them I've done this, so it works. It also, if you don't have time to take a bath, even if you know, sometimes you're like, I'm just going to take a shower, but you put it in a cup, not glass, I've learned, plastic. Fill it, put some salt in there, some of the salt crystals, and then as you're taking the shower, you know, fill it with water and just kind of start pouring that over. It like so cleanses your energy. Like I'm vibrating afterwards. And sometimes I'll rub the salt on my hands, or like my head's very vulnerable. Like I take in a lot on my crown, so I'll kind of rub that part, or my third eye, or my shoulders, anywhere where I feel like I've picked up energy. So that's like a really psychic woman once told me that trick because she lived in an apartment. She's like, I can't take baths, but I do salt showers. And I was like, awesome. So I tried it and that really works. So I just wanted to share that with you. So as I said in the beginning, most clearing and shielding classes focus on the tools like crystals and essential oils. But if you don't have the awareness of everything else we talked about before, it helps. Obviously, crystals are very powerful, but it's not enough because you've got all these other things that you want to do. This is brought to you by the Infinity Foundation. Thank you.